Hey, it's Joe, and welcome back to Humanfluence. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, mysterious ocean. An ocean not of water, but of consciousness, where the waves of reality ebb and flow, shaped by the rhythms of the universe. This is the world that Itzhak Bentov invites us to explore in his groundbreaking book, Stalking the Wild Pendulum, on the mechanics of consciousness. It's a world where science and mysticism converge, where the boundaries between the physical and the metaphysical blur, and where the very nature of reality is revealed as something far more dynamic and interconnected than we might have ever imagined. At the heart of Bentov's work is the concept of the pendulum, a metaphor for the oscillating nature of consciousness and reality. Bentov suggests that just as a pendulum swings back and forth, so too does consciousness move between different states, from the physical to the non-physical, from the waking state to deeper realms of awareness. This oscillation is not random, but follows a rhythm, a pulse, that is in harmony with the very structure of the universe. Bentov uses the pendulum to explain how reality itself is an oscillatory phenomenon, arguing that everything in the universe vibrates at specific frequencies, from the smallest particles to the largest cosmic structures. These vibrations create wave patterns, and these patterns in turn give rise to the physical forms and experiences that we perceive as reality. In this view, reality is not a static, fixed entity, but a dynamic, ever-changing process, constantly in motion, like the swing of a pendulum. His exploration goes deeper into the mechanics of consciousness, offering a unique perspective that blends scientific inquiry with mystic insight. He posits that consciousness is not confined to the brain or the body, but is a fundamental aspect of the universe itself, an intrinsic part of the fabric of reality. In Stalking the Wild Pendulum, he introduces the idea of scanning behavior of consciousness, suggesting that our awareness moves in discrete pulses or jumps, much like the frames of a film reel, rather than in a continuous flow. The scanning process creates the illusion of a smooth and continuous experience of reality. He proposes that each pulse of consciousness captures a snapshot of reality, and these snapshots are then stitched together by the brain to create a seamless experience. This insight aligns with concepts in quantum physics, where particles are understood to exist in discrete states rather than continuous ones. Bentov's theory suggests that our perception of reality is inherently linked to this quantum nature of consciousness. Another intriguing aspect of Bentov's work is his exploration of the holographic nature of reality, proposing that the universe operates much like a hologram, where each part contains the whole. This idea draws on the work of physicists like David Bohm, who suggested that the universe could be understood as a giant hologram where every piece of the hologram contains the entire image. Bentov extends this concept to consciousness, suggesting that the mind, too, operates holographically. In this holographic model, the human mind is not just a passive observer, but an active participant in its creation of reality. Bentov argues that thoughts, emotions, and intentions are not confined to our minds but ripple out into the universe, influencing the patterns of reality at a fundamental level, akin to the concept of non-locality in quantum physics, where particles can influence each other instantaneously across vast distances. Bentov's view is that consciousness, being a non-local phenomenon, interacts with the universe in ways that transcend the limitations of time and space, thus actively shaping the reality we experience. Central to Bentov's exploration is the role of meditation and inner exploration. He believed that by turning inward, we access deeper levels of awareness and tap into the underlying rhythms of the universe. Meditation, in Bentov's view, is not just a tool for relaxation or stress relief, but a powerful method of synchronizing our consciousness with these cosmic oscillations. He describes meditation as a way to still the pendulum of the mind, allowing us to observe the subtle vibrations of consciousness and the universe. He also speaks of Kundalini energy, the primal energy believed to reside at the base of the spine, which can be awakened through meditation and spiritual practices. And when this energy rises, it can lead to expanded states of consciousness and a deeper understanding of the self and the universe. He explains that when we meditate, we become attuned to the deeper patterns of existence, gaining insights that go beyond physical senses. He describes how the brain, particularly the reptilian brain, the oldest part of the brain responsible for basic survival functions, interacts with these subtle energies during meditation, potentially leading to altered states of consciousness and mystical experiences. Another key concept is the idea of Maya, a term from Eastern philosophy that refers to the illusory nature of the physical world. Bentov explores the idea that what we perceive as solid, unchanging reality is actually a complex web of energy patterns, constantly in flux. This illusion of solidity is created by the way our consciousness interacts with these patterns, interpreting them as fixed objects and experiences. Bentov suggests that by understanding the oscillatory nature of reality and our role in shaping it, we begin to see through the illusion of Maya, that our sensory perceptions are limited and often distort the true nature of reality. This doesn't mean that the physical world is unreal, but that it is only one layer of a much more intricate and dynamic reality. And then there's the interconnectedness of all things. Nothing in the universe exists in isolation. Everything is connected through the oscillatory patterns of this energy and consciousness. The interconnectedness means that our thoughts, actions, and intentions have a far-reaching impact, influencing not just our immediate environment, but the entire cosmos. He delves into the concept of cosmic resonance, where all forms of matter and consciousness resonate with each other, creating a symphony of vibrations that make up reality. And then there's the detailed model of the universe, likening it to a giant multi-layered system of vibrations where each layer corresponds to a different level of consciousness. He introduces the concept of cosmic standing waves, which are stationary waves of energy that form the structural framework of the universe. These waves, according to Bentov, serve as the scaffolding upon which reality is built. At its core, Stalking the Wild Pendulum is a book about the journey of consciousness, a journey that is both personal and universal, inviting us to explore the deeper dimensions of our own awareness, to question the nature of reality, and to understand the oscillatory processes that shape our experiences. This journey is not about reaching a final destination, but about engaging with the rhythms of life in the universe, understanding that consciousness is a dynamic, ever-evolving force. Humanfluence, out.
Most people know Itzhak Bentov through Stalking the Wild Pendulum, that weird little book from 1977 that mixed physics, mysticism, and consciousness in a way almost no one had before. It's been floating around for decades like a cult artifact. New Agers cite it, scientists dismiss it, and most people only remember the easy parts: the pendulum metaphor, the oscillating consciousness, the quirky physics diagrams. But here's the truth. What everyone repeats is not what mattered most. The pendulum wasn't some quirky metaphor. It was Bentov's way of pointing at something far deeper. The body as an antenna, consciousness as vibration, and the esoteric initiations he could only hint at without saying the words. See, everyone knows the surface version. Pendulum swings back and forth. Consciousness rides the arc. Cute metaphor. But a pendulum isn't about the swing. It's about the restoring force. Gravity pulls it back. Resistance slows it down. Every oscillating system, hearts, thought loops, planetary cycles, works the same way. Tension, release, and return. Again, mystics already knew this. They encoded pendulums into rituals, swinging lamps, incense, chains, rhythmic chants, and drumming. They knew oscillation was the language of entrainment. Put the body into rhythm, and you can catch consciousness at the peak of the swing, where time pauses, where the reversal begins. That's the gateway. And if you've studied Hermeticism, Tantra, Catholic Mass, it's obvious. The pendulum is part of the method. One of Bentov's biggest insights, ignored by most, is that the body itself is a resonant cavity. Sit in meditation and your heartbeat literally generates standing waves in your chest cavity. Your body becomes an antenna, which means consciousness isn't produced by the brain, it's tuned by the body. Nervous system, blood flow, spinal fluid, tuning forks, not generators. So what tunes the pendulum? Again, rhythm. If your rhythm is chaotic, stress, anxiety, trauma, you scatter the signal. If your rhythms are coherent, mantra, prayer, meditation, you lock onto higher frequencies. That's why every tradition on earth leaned on breath, chant, drumbeat. Here's the deeper layer. At the exact peak of the pendulum swing, time stops for a split second. There's no forward, no backward, just stillness. Mystics have always said the same. The silence between breaths, the pause between thoughts, the still point where eternity lives. If he'd written it straight, it would have been tossed in the fringe bin. So he smuggled initiation into physics class. He didn't say Kundalini, but when he describes vibrations climbing up the body, that's exactly what he means. He didn't say Merkaba, but when he diagrams toroidal oscillations, that's what he's drawing. But here's what he didn't spell out. Oscillation has a dark side. Thought loops, emotional reactivity, political polarity. People stuck swinging endlessly, thinking motion equals progress. That's bondage. The mystics always warned, transcend duality or get lost in it. And it scales up. Subatomic particles vibrate, planets swing in and out of orbit, galaxies expand and contract. History itself oscillates. Civilizations rise, overextend, and fall. As above, so below. Harmonic resonance, the pendulum isn't local. It's cosmic law. Which brings us to right now. 2025. Living in extremes, politics, identity, spirituality. Everything polarized. Everyone's swinging hard one way or the other. And the danger, the harder you swing, the harder the reversal. That's pendulum law. Civilizations don't collapse in one direction. They collapse because they snap back. Bentov's work, if you read it right, it's a warning. Don't get lost in the swing. Find the still point. Tune your body's resonance. Step into the pause. That's survival in a world of oscillations. And that's the real takeaway. He didn't give us a metaphor, he gave us a key to the still point where time collapses, a key to the body as antenna, not generator, a key to the cosmic law that governs atoms, planets, and civilizations. He was sketching initiation without saying the word. The pendulum isn't just back and forth motion, it's the architecture of consciousness. The only question is, do you get strapped in the swing, or do you stand in the stillness where eternity breathes through you? Humanfluence, out.
Many thinkers have explored ideas similar to those in Bentov's Stalking the Wild Pendulum, tying together science, mysticism, and the nature of consciousness. Nikola Tesla famously stated, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, echoing Bentov's view of reality as oscillatory. David Bohm's holographic universe theory, where each part contains the whole, aligns with Bentov's vision of interconnectedness.
Quantum pioneers like Max Planck and Albert Einstein emphasized the fundamental role of energy and vibration in shaping reality, again resonating with Bentov's idea about the rhythmic nature of existence. Ancient wisdom also supports these concepts. Pythagoras spoke of the music of the spheres. Paramahansa Yogananda described Kundalini energy as key to higher consciousness. And Eastern philosophies like Hinduism and Taoism view life as governed by vibrational flows of energy, such as prana and chi. Then we have modern thinkers like Alan Watts, Rupert Sheldrake, and Greg Braden, further exploring these themes, discussing the illusion of separateness, non-local consciousness, and how our thoughts shape reality. Together, these insights form a rich tapestry that complements Bentov's exploration of the oscillation and interconnected nature of the universe. Imagine life as a symphony. Every note, every vibration contributes to the music of the cosmos. Bentov suggests that everything in existence, your thoughts, the cells in your body, even galaxy, vibrate in harmony. But here's where it gets exciting. Your thoughts are like musicians in this symphony. They don't just play along, they can change the tune. Think about when you walk into a room filled with tension. It's almost palpable, isn't it? That's the energy we emit. Bentov argued that our emotions and intentions ripple outward, influencing the patterns of reality around us, like a domino effect, except the dominoes are made of energy, not plastic. Here's a relatable metaphor. Have you ever watched a movie and forgotten it's just a series of still frames flashing quickly? Bentov likens our consciousness to that movie reel. Reality feels seamless, but in truth it's built from discrete pulses of awareness. Think about scrolling on social media. You don't notice the pixels on your phone screen, you just see the whole picture. Similarly, our minds stitch these pulses of consciousness together, frame by frame, creating the illusion of a smooth, flowing reality. Bentov's insight is a game changer. If reality is constructed like this, then altering even one frame, one thought, one intention can change the entire picture. Here's a fun thought experiment. Imagine breaking a mirror. Each shard still reflects the entire image. That's how Bentov describes reality, holographic. This might remind you of fractals in nature, like how a fern's small leaf mirrors the entire plant, or how one drop of water contains the same properties as the entire ocean. This holographic principle applies to us too. We're not just observers of the universe, we're microcosms of it. Everything out there, it's also in here. Let's bring it back to Bentov's pendulum. It swings between states, waking and dreaming, physical and spiritual. But think about how this applies to everyday life. We're constantly oscillating, aren't we? Between work and rest, focus and distraction, joy and sorrow. Have you ever felt stuck in a cycle, like swinging back and forth between the same problems? Bentov's pendulum isn't just a metaphor. It's a reminder that life is rhythm. The key isn't to stop the swing, but to find harmony within it. Meditation, according to Bentov, is like a tuning fork for your mind. It helps you align with the deeper rhythms of the universe. Meditation clears the background apps so you can focus on what really matters, tapping into the Wi-Fi of the cosmos. Through meditation, we calm the pendulum of thought and tap into the subtle vibrations that guide everything, from your next decision to the movement of galaxies. Here's where things get really interesting. Bentov draws from ancient philosophies to talk about Maya, the illusion of the physical world. What feels solid is really just energy. What seems separate is deeply interconnected. Ever looked at a crowd from a distance? Everyone seems like tiny dots. But up close, each person has a story, a connection to you. The same goes for reality. It's layered and intricate, more than meets the eye. When we understand this, life becomes less about reacting to what's real and more about shaping what's possible. So what does this mean for you? Bentov's work isn't just about understanding the mechanics of the universe. It's about realizing our place in it. Your thoughts, your actions, they're not just ripples in a pond. They're notes in this grand symphony of existence. When you meditate, when you dream, even when you're simply kind to someone, you're syncing with these deeper rhythms. Bentov shows us that consciousness isn't something we have, it's something we are. And that's the most empowering realization of all. At the core of Itzhak Bentov's Stalking the Wild Pendulum is the idea of the pendulum as a metaphor for the oscillating nature of consciousness and reality. Imagine this pendulum swinging back and forth. That's a simple rhythmic motion we've all seen. For Bentov, this motion represents the fundamental way everything in existence behaves, from the smallest particles to the human mind and even the cosmos. But the twist is, Bentov didn't just mean this literally. He used the pendulum to symbolize how consciousness moves between states. Think of your waking mind versus your dreaming mind, or your logical thinking versus your intuitive insight. Just like a pendulum swings between 2 points, your consciousness is constantly moving, oscillating between these different realms of experience. But he took this even further, proposing that the entire universe operates in oscillations. Everything vibrates at specific frequencies. Your body, your thoughts, even the atoms that make up physical objects. These oscillations are what create patterns we perceive as reality. It's like a pendulum swing at a cosmic scale. Everything is in motion, creating a rhythm that underpins the universe. So why does this even matter? Bentov suggested that understanding this oscillatory nature helps us see through the illusion of a fixed, solid reality. And when you realize everything is in motion, you start to grasp that life is dynamic and ever-changing. This insight gives us the tools to align ourselves with these rhythms, finding harmony, whether through meditation, creativity, or simply being more aware of the energy we emit and receive. So the pendulum is a symbol of the oscillating, interconnected nature of existence, and invites us to explore the deeper rhythms that shape both our inner world and the cosmos. As above, so below, as within, so without. Here's how we better navigate life's swings and find harmony in the motion. Remember, the pendulum is always swinging, but you have the power to ride the rhythm. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, you create your own reality.